Not one, but two Star Wars cars will take flight at Phoenix this weekend. Ford reveals their all-new NASCAR Mustang. And should we question Denny Hamlin's intelligence? Excuse me. Just polishing off some remaining Halloween candy. But how's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. So much NASCAR news to get to, but first, let me tell you about my friends at Electric E-Bikes. Cool fall weather is finally here. If you're like me and live in the South, it's a great time to get outside. The Electric XP 3.0 is your perfect companion for new adventures. Cover up to 45 miles on one charge and reach speeds of up to 28 miles per hour. The new motor is quieter but with more torque, so more power, less noise. Added suspension has created their smoothest ride ever, and a stronger rear rack supports everything you need for longer trips or day-to-day rides. The holiday season is right around the corner. Head to electricebikes.com or click that top link down in the description to learn more about the Electric XP 3.0. Thanks to Electric E-Bikes for sponsoring this episode. I didn't grow up a huge Star Wars fan. I saw the original trilogy. It took me a long time to eventually watch the prequels. I may have watched the Disney sequels before I watched the prequels, actually. But while I wasn't always a huge Star Wars fan, I was an admirer of Mark Hamill's work. I grew up watching the Batman animated series, and Mark Hamill's Joker, also in the Arkham video games, still gives me chills at night. So I was very pleasantly surprised yesterday to see Mark Hamill star alongside Bubba Wallace in a new Columbia Star Wars crossover ad. I never thought I'd see Bubba Wallace share the screen with Mark Hamill with the classic John Williams Star Wars score soaring overhead. But yet here we are. Awesome clip posted to social media yesterday. It already has well over 1 million views. There have been millions of Star Wars crossovers, but this short video clip trumps the vast majority of them. Well done, Columbia, 2311, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney, whoever was involved. Really cool clip to watch if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Bubba Wallace fan, and honestly just cool to see NASCAR get that kind of exposure. Now, Disney, can y'all grant Lionel the diecast approvals, please? Please? I do think it's funny that Bubba Wallace got to do the cool Star Wars crossover when it's his good buddy Ryan Blaney who's the known Star Wars nerd. I think this meme is very fitting. Oh, and Columbia wasn't done. This morning they revealed a TIE Fighter themed paint scheme for Tyler Reddick. So Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick, the two 2311 Toyotas, will both be representing Star Wars on track at Phoenix Raceway this weekend. It's kind of random, but I love it. Cool paint schemes. The promotion has been executed flawlessly thus far. Awesome stuff. And speaking of cool paint schemes, Busch Light is once again running the Harvick variant of the Busch colors. Kevin Harvick will have his own name on his car for his final NASCAR Cup Series race this weekend at the track he has dominated like no other throughout his career. Kevin Harvick has 9 wins at Phoenix Raceway, including 4 in a row at one point between 2013 and 2015. I had to go back and look at the stats. Kevin Harvick has finished inside the top 10 in 20 straight Phoenix races. 20 top 10s in a row. That does not happen in NASCAR. Kevin Harvick's success at Phoenix Raceway needs to be studied. Actually, I'm sure it has been studied by many of his competitors over the years, yet they've never been able to replicate Kevin Harvick's success nor his consistency. I'm glad Busch Light is running a special paint scheme for him, although we have seen the Harvick beer theme before, but still, is cool. Nice way at least to commemorate his final race. I still hope the track pulls out something special. I mean, shoot, if Jeff Gordon could get naming rights to the Speedway back in 2015, they should name the whole city of Phoenix after Kevin Harvick this time around. Anyway, let's move off paint schemes now. Let's get to some real news. Earlier today, Ford unveiled their all-new Mustang Dark Horse that will take to the track in 2024. Take a look at some of these images. Of course, the main difference between this year's Mustang and next year's is the body. Both Ford and I believe Toyota will have new bodies for 2024. Chevy, I think, is waiting until 2025. They've got to figure out what they're going to do, I guess, post Camaro. But even to the naked eye, this new Ford Mustang Dark Horse looks noticeably different than what's on track today. Specifically, this area on the front, just above the headlights. Look at how that's flared up. The fender, the angles there just above the headlights, that's got to do something aerodynamically. I haven't seen angles quite like that on either the Camry or the Camaro recently. With the next gen car, the teams and manufacturers are forced to play within a very tight box. Mark Rushbrook, global director of Ford Performance Motorsports, explained how they were able to still work within those tight confines to potentially find an advantage. Rushbrook said, quote, "Where you are within that box is still important, so repositioning as you can to truly optimize that, every little bit of performance counts. But there's also a lot of performance that simply isn't characterized in that submission process of how the cars truly race on these variety of tracks, as well as the trade-off decisions that are made in terms of drag versus downforce. It's hard to make improvements in both. We certainly did in this case, but in our 2023 car, maybe some of our trade-offs weren't in the optimal place that you could see. We were really strong on super speedways, and that hurt the performance a little bit on the intermediate tracks. So being able to reposition where we are in the box is an important step for us, as well as optimizing some of the detailed racing conditions to make sure we're the most competitive in all those situations." So he's not going into too many specifics there, of course, but it is interesting to hear a manufacturer talk about trade-offs. Should we make short tracks or intermediates the focus? Super speedways or road courses? Like, the design of these bodies, the front end in particular, makes a huge difference even though they are in a very tight box. Certainly some notable changes to the new Mustang body. We'll be looking forward to seeing how that affects their on-track performance next year. I think this year, many would argue, was a slight down year for Ford. But, I mean, don't tell that to Ryan Blaney or Chris Buescher, I suppose. It'll be interesting to see if we noticed any performance differences next season. But lastly, I want to talk about this. Denny Hamlin. Of course, at Martinsville this past weekend, Denny Hamlin missed the championship 4 by just a few points for the second consecutive year. Former Texas Motor Speedway track president Eddie Gossage stirred up a lot of fans on social media this week with this post he made on X. He said, "Why can't Denny Hamlin win a NASCAR title? He's won 51 races, 3 Daytona 500s, a Coke 600, but never the championship. Inside scoop, folks in the garage question focus and his intelligence. Makes emotional decisions, losing points, and distracted by too many non-competition items. Talented, but..." Ooh, okay, kind of a scathing review there. Now, Eddie Gossage was very active on X last night trying to clarify his points. He said, "Let me be clear, I have no axe to grind with Denny Hamlin, don't know him, only had one conversation with him. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I didn't say he lacks focus and intelligence, was told that last week from one crew chief and 2 crew members. Asking, is this why he hasn't won the title? Just reporting." Ooh, reporter Eddie Gossage now. I didn't know that's what he was doing in his retirement. Look, I do my best on this show to only reference reports from very reliable sources. Eddie Gossage, not necessarily the most reliable source, but his initial post has sparked quite the debate on social media. We'll talk all about the Championship 4 in my next episode. Believe me, I've got a full video planned. But let's put a bow real quick on Denny Hamlin's season. Hamlin does have a lot going on right now. I don't know that it's fair to say he's distracted, but one, he's obviously driving for a top-flight NASCAR organization. He's now also co-owning one of the most successful up-and-coming race teams, and he co-hosts one of the most successful up-and-coming NASCAR podcasts. His business, his brand, you could argue, is bigger than it's ever been before. Call him distracted if you want, but that's all part of the game. If you want to argue that his golf league or his basketball leagues or pickleball, that's a distraction, sure, okay, fine. But Hamlin's been one of the most consistent performers for the past decade. And even in the next-gen era, he is still one of the most elite. Denny Hamlin had a 3-year stretch from 2019 to 2021 where he looked nearly unstoppable. 3 straight Championship 4 appearances. He won a combined 15 races. His average finish each year was better than 10th. The next-gen car reined that success in a bit, but it did that to pretty much all the top teams. Evening the playing field took away some of Joe Gibbs Racing's advantage, but even then, last year, Denny Hamlin had 3 wins, finished 5th in the points. Where's he at right now? 5th in the points. I don't believe those off-track distractions have slowed him down. But that being said, this year was a big missed opportunity. And I listened to his podcast this week, Actions Detrimental. He seems to have pretty quickly moved into the acceptance stage of grief. And he said multiple times on the show, what else could I have done this season? Felt like a lot was out of my control. And objectively, I don't think that's always true. Of course, there's always more you could have done. I think some may see those comments as Hamlin kind of deflecting blame, trying to take some of the heat, the pressure off himself. And objectively, that may be true, but I don't actually think that's a bad thing. I'd actually say it's good. If I was a Denny Hamlin fan or Denny Hamlin's car owner, I would hate to see my driver always down on himself, questioning himself. That kind of mentality bleeds into the team, can bleed into next year. NASCAR drivers are crazy, and they've usually got pretty big egos. Sometimes a little overconfidence is actually a good thing. To be the best, you have to believe you're the best. Even if objectively that may not be true, you have to believe it yourself. Fake it till you feel it. Denny Hamlin doesn't feel he did anything wrong. There's nothing more he could have done this year. He's not second guessing or doubting himself. I actually think that's the right mentality to have if you're an athlete in his position. Denny Hamlin just signed a new contract. A speculation is that it's maybe just a 2-year deal. Hamlin will be 43 years old, I believe, at the start of next year, which means he will be 45 at the start of potentially his next contract. I believe these next 2 years are it for Denny Hamlin. If he's ever going to win a NASCAR Cup Series championship, it has to happen now. His championship window is beginning to close. He doesn't have time to second guess himself. 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now when he's potentially retired, then he can look back and say, yeah, I could have done this differently. You can have regrets, that's fine. But when you're still in the heat of the battle, which I know he's eliminated from the playoffs right now, but next year's not too far away, Hamlin is still very much in the heat of battle, and he's running out of time to win himself a championship. Bold, unbridled confidence is what it takes to be great in NASCAR. Fans can call him delusional, but I call him a race car driver. You need to be a little delusional to be a great NASCAR driver. And Denny Hamlin is great. I think it's safe to say he is the most successful NASCAR Cup Series driver who hasn't yet won a championship. But we all know he wants to tick that box. I believe he's got 2 years to do it. No time to waste. Focus forward. Don't wallow in self-pity. No, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm great. I'm awesome. I'm going to get it next year. He's an athlete in the heat of the battle. That is the correct mentality to have. So no, I don't think he's distracted or not focused enough. He has the right mentality. Time will tell if he's able to execute, get the job done. Came up just short once again this season. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Your reaction to Eddie Gossage's posts, reaction to those Star Wars paint schemes, Kevin Harvick's final scheme, Ford. Man, that new Mustang Dark Horse looks interesting. Leave a comment down below. Also leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you love all things NASCAR. And as always, a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters. I will see you all again very, very soon. Got my Championship 4 preview for Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. I promise this shirt I'm wearing is not a spoiler. I might lean Sam Mayer, but I haven't decided yet. I haven't made an official selection. I just got this shirt recently, thought it looked really freaking cool, wanted to wear it. I still got to study before making my definitive Xfinity Series championship prediction, but you'll get my picks very, very soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day, folks. I'll catch you in the next episode.